Hello everybody. Welcome to Q&A Tuesday. So somebody wrote and asked about body acceptance. The question, is it possible to accept my body when I don't like how it feels or looks right now? The short answer is yes. Yes. And to notice, if that's not the honest place that we are, we can't force ourselves into acceptance. And I love noticing how the mind would say, this acceptance place, this acceptance, that's the better place to be, over there in acceptance. So I need to get myself over there as soon as possible, somehow psychically, mentally. My perception needs to turn into acceptance. Then I'll be happy. Always there's reasons for not being happy right now, it seems, and the mind is in that sort of framework of reference. Often, the reason I like this question, really specifically about the body today, is often one of the first things that actually sort of propels or ignites a sense of unbalance with food and eating, or the idea to do something with the food and eating natural flow, is because there is a lack of acceptance about the body, or a desire to have it change and look different. Now, let's say that was okay to have that desire. I mean, people who are competitive athletes might not, might be just incredibly drawn to the game and the joy and the persistence and the energy, the project, in a way, of recreating a body and finding a new way to be in this human body, which is so mysterious and designed, like in the most amazing way. And we've studied it and studied it and studied it. It's just so fascinating. And so nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's really quite interesting. It's like, there's even, of course, all kinds of benefits for living, optimally inside a body, whatever that is, optimally. So, all right to notice, but just many people begin a journey somehow that sort of lines itself up in this off-balance eating way by seeing, wow, I would like the body to look a certain way. It certainly was for me as a teenager. So I'm going to reduce my food. The way you get the body to look a certain way is you exercise and you get muscles, and you reduce your food. And so this scarcity thing comes alive, and there's not much research done on it. There's just sort of like fad diets all over the place, and whatever it takes to just eat less. And of course, it's very ramshackle and putting something together that doesn't really make sense and isn't that healthy, and all those kinds of things. Even if it is healthy, there's something that's restrictive and difficult and hard about it. Then it sets up a flip-flop, of wanting to get your needs met and wanting not to be restricted, and then going back here and thinking that restriction is the best way, and control and willpower. But before that, prior to that, the perspective and the thought that I want my body to be different than it is. This is the way the body appears, with the way I've been doing it, the way I've been seeing it, how I've been living with the body. I want the body to be different. So my actions and behavior and lifestyle and different things that go into how a body shows up probably need to be different, is the conclusion. Well, I love considering bringing balance into that, and how we're looking. Like this person's question, is it possible to accept my body when I don't like how it feels and looks? So some would say, and maybe, I'd find this to be very nourishing, is that yes, we sort of see in a very honest, open, simple way, here's the result, here's what's happening right now. This is the way things feel in the body. This is the way things look in the body. And to bring, the things that we're bringing into the body, including thought and how we believe thought, but all the different things that we need. Like, we all need water. We all need to drink water. We all need to eat food. We all need to breathe. We all need some sunlight or daylight. So we all know that movement and being a body and enjoying the body and using the body is a wonderful experience in life. If it doesn't feel good, we can look at all those different parts of it. Where is something not being met? Where is some need not being met? What's happening? And of course, here in the work and in self-inquiry, we're looking at what's going on in the mind. But important to bring it all in, and there's all kinds of amazing knowledge out there. So if we're looking at the body, we say, I don't like how it looks, and I don't like how it feels. Great. Being genuinely honest, genuinely accepting, seeing, here's where we're at. This is what's happening. And finding that middle balance, like, instead of this is a disaster. I like noticing that it would be, ugly, very dramatic, kind of extremely critical thinking sometimes about the way the body appears and the hardship and the woes and how difficult it is to get it the way you want it to be. And those are worth questioning. So certainly nothing wrong whatsoever with having a desire to feel really good in the body and for it to appear vibrant, healthy, lively. If you have that option, there's all kinds of different things happening with the body. It's going to be on a decline. It's just a temporary thing here, an envelope that we're living in that will not last. So at some point, it's going to be declining. It's probably declining from the minute you're born. There's a growth, and then, of course, as you know, there's a curve. And seeing sometimes, let's just look at this, the lack of acceptance. So we look at the body and we say, so ugly. I don't like the way it is. So quickly, there can be stressful thoughts. If it is just simply data, you're just noticing. Great. It's very neutral. But if it begins to be stressful that the body appears the way it does, if you glimpse yourself in the mirror and there's a disappointed sense within, then you're on to stressful thinking. So I know I used to, just walking down the street, if I glimpsed myself in like an office building glass and saw the body, I would be, the almost instant reaction would be that there's something wrong with it, often related to that it should be thinner, or more muscular, more strong looking. But I can ask with a deeper inquiry, what is so appealing about that? What is it that I really want? How is it that I want to show up like that? What would I have if it looked this certain ideal version that is made up in my mind that's ideal? What would I have if I had that? Amazing. To answer that question, what would I believe I have? What would I avoid if I had this body the way I want it? If it appeared as I wish. What would I avoid? What would I have? Often it's quite personal. I believe I would have acceptance. I would avoid rejection. I would have a mate. I've had people work with me for all over these years, and they've said, if my body was right, I'd have a partnership. I'd have a mate. Those lucky people who have the ideal body have boyfriends and girlfriends. So, I mean, what an amazing thing to see, because we all know if you really just consider it for even a moment, it's not even true. Like that the body is what a relationship is about. So if my body looked like that, if it was the way I want it, what would it give me? And just stay steady with that, like acceptance. You can find and see what you think are your own answers. I would have a sense of like, what does that mean? What is that showing? What does that exude? If there's this ideal body, the way I want the body, what does it say about me as a human being? People come up with things like, feel more powerful. I'd feel admirable. I'd feel right. I'd feel praiseworthy. I'd feel I would be avoiding criticism. I've heard many times people won't see my compulsion and addiction written all over my body. They won't see that I have trouble with food and eating if I didn't have the weight on the body. So there's something about having it exposed and seen and shown to the world that feels threatening. So a desire to avoid their critical eye. I mean, noticing how much we care about connection and how much we care about this thing called acceptance. And of course, if we're dependent on other people to give us that, we're going to be feeling very insecure, very volatile, because we're dependent, we're waiting. It's almost like being a victim of those other people's response. So who would I be without the story? I will be better off. I will have this quality that I like. I will have this place that I want to be in. I will feel safer. I will feel more comfortable. I'll be in the right spot. Is it true? I'll be less vulnerable. Can you absolutely know that that's true? Can you be absolutely sure that if you had that over there the way you want it, you'd be happy? Life would be easier. You'd be safer, less vulnerable. You'd feel better. Sometimes the answer, like I might feel better physically in my body, is yes. But it's just to see that part and aspect of it, really sitting and looking. Because when it gets wide and big, like it's a grand story that's sort of across all, and psychically, emotionally, mentally, I would be safer and less vulnerable and more powerful. May or may not be true. And just back to that, that space of my perceptions and other people's perceptions. What happens when I believe my thought that if I had that kind of body, that's what it takes to be powerful, avoid rejection, accepted, successful. That's what it would take over there. What happens when you believe it? Often that's where we start to go into lots of analysis about how to get there. That's when we've tried all the diets and the special plans and gone to extremes around that. sometimes very difficult. So who would you be without the story? I need to have the body be that way in order to be happy. Who would you be without that story? I mean, just notice that when we have the story, when we're reminded of the body, oh no, cast down, terrible, so disappointing, something's wrong with me, total lack of acceptance about the self, when we're believing it takes a good body to have a happy life, who would we be without the story? I even need to feel good in my body. I know it's strange, but we've all had moments where we've injured ourselves or there's disease and you actually don't feel very good physically, but there's a comparison to when you felt good and then what's happening now. And in the moment of what's happening now, who would you be without the story? This is called not feeling good. If you just didn't have that, it's okay to feel what you feel. We're not pretending something's happening that isn't happening or that isn't happening that is. But who would I be without that, all those images of the past and wishing and dreaming? It's like I kind of coming back to the center in the moment. Who would I be without the story? It shouldn't be the way it is. It shouldn't be the way it is. The agony of that. So amazing to drop that story. Just allow things to be the way they are. Just not so frightened. I once had a cancerous tumor on my leg. When I found out in the biopsy in the doctor's office, the doctor said, I need to talk to you about your biopsy. In that moment, before she even said anything, I had a huge surge of adrenaline just raced through my body. I was terrified by her look and her tone. And then when she said cancer, I felt like this amazing fear, even though she also then spoke more about what it looks like and what this kind of cancer is and that it can be cut out. But it was something about it was so frightening and sad and, well, mostly frightening for me at the time. But I was so happy that I had the work to question my thinking because I could find a welcoming of this experience and just an open hands towards what was happening that was phenomenal. I could hardly believe that I could find that. I thought, don't we always not want cancer to come? No. And there was good reasons, amazing reasons for why it was okay. At first I couldn't find it. When I got to the turnarounds, like, I can accept my body the way it is right now. It's okay. Exactly how it feels and looks in this moment, in this situation. All is well. It's okay the way it's happening right now. Can I find an example for that turnaround? I actually like how it looks. I actually like how it feels. That this is okay, that this is happening. I was like, I can't find a turnaround example for this. As I looked at this tumor on my leg. And then after the tumor, when it was cut out and 50 stitches, and just felt like, wow, I can't find a reason why this has been a good thing. And then my first husband, who I was just separated from right then, knocked on the door and brought 24 pink roses over. And there was a beautiful kind of moment of sharing and acceptance, and that he showed up. He showed up that way. I almost felt of it as like, it's just a sense of reaching out and connecting, bonding, almost like an apology for what was happening between us. And after he left, I thought, this is a turnaround example. this just wouldn't have happened unless this condition and something was underway like this right now at this particular time. And it was an amazing shift in our relationship in a way. Amazing. So I could find this example for how it was okay that things were underway the way they were right there in this moment, that reality was friendly. So consider finding that. And I know there's been so much hatred and disgust almost, and annoyance and irritation with the body doing what it does, having a life of its own, showing up the way it does in the moment. So see if you can, instead of, just only allowing that voice to be loud and talkative and give you all the reasons why the body needs to change and attack the self for being that way, can you find reasons why it's okay to be looking as you are in the moment and to be feeling as you do? And sometimes it can be as simple as it shows me what to do. It shows me if I'm sick to lay down and rest, to go to bed, to cancel everything for the day. It shows me that what I'm doing, or how I'm eating isn't really working for me. And so I'm exploring. I'm wanting to understand. I'm wanting to understand this predicament, because something happens where even though I know something is underway with food and eating and the income of food and outflow of food in my life, something's off. Something in my mind is unwilling to just recognize what works and what doesn't want to stick with that. And I can study why. I can allow myself to listen and see what's going on, sweetheart. What's going on, honey? Oh, goodness, what's happening? This doesn't work for you. What's happening? Why do you feel like this is the only choice that's really necessary in the moment, needed, that compulsive eating, that emotional eating, that those needs that are being met, which is all why we're here and what we do in this inquiry. And just seeing there's very, very important reasons, says the mind, for eating as we do. But I love that as an example, that it's here I am showing up the way I appear, and it's helping me see that something painful is going on within, and that I'm maybe believing I don't have what it takes to relax with this or to find peace, and I do. I think it's possible for anyone. Please find your examples. Find your examples of how it's okay that you feel and look the way you do in the moment. I also like how it's good that this hot stove burns us, because we know not to leave our hand on the stove. I've heard of, I lost the internet for a second, but there's an illness out there where people don't have pain function, so they can't feel. They can't feel, and it's very dangerous when you can't feel pain. So it's good that I feel pain. It's a little wake-up call. It's an alarm bell. So I love the other turnaround too. How is it okay that I feel and look the way I do in the moment? I don't like the way I'm thinking. I don't like the way my thoughts look and feel in this moment. My thoughts don't look accepting or acceptable. They look like they're full of criticism and upset and anger and poor me. We just get to see it's my thinking, not so much the body, because it's just doing what it does, giving you signals, feels neutral about the whole thing. I mean, just letting you know one way or the other, there's the balance in the middle that's optimum. And, luckily we lean over and get really thirsty, and then we get water, come back to middle. We get hungry and we come back to middle. And Just following the simple directions, and that something within perhaps hasn't wanted to follow simple directions, but to really get to know that one and see what it's saying and listen closely is so important. So I do like how it looks and feels right now. Amazing. Or even it's okay the way it looks and feels right now. And just to see, even if it's things like I'm totally able to move about the world, getting myself to places that I need to go. I'm alive. I can breathe. I can stand up. Just begin to find the benefits of how it's okay that you feel and look the way you do in the moment. And just allow that to have its life and be rich and full. And the acceptance comes. So from there, then the avenue into feeling trust for just simply doing what works and not doing what doesn't work becomes more and more clear, and we're more and more willing as we question the body and its appearance with the deepest acceptance. It becomes clear that the other concepts that we have that are running in here that we can question and look at, which are so amazing to question. I love that we question our thinking. It's so powerful. It is can shift everything from that point forward about how we see some problem, even if it's just a little tweak. Sometimes it's a big one. It can always begin every single new moment or new inquiry with a fresh, is it true? And just see, wow, I really go quickly. My mind goes so quickly into just crunching down into, that's ugly. Don't like how it looks and feels. Terrible, catastrophic, always been like this. Lots of stuff about the past and the future. So I remember once having that experience, walking down the street, passing an office building after being in the work, really looking and willing to question my thinking and see that it has to be that the glasses that I have on have had this perspective. And now I'm taking the glasses off. And I just happened to glimpse myself in a passing glass, again on a storefront. And the immediate and instant thought, almost before just the awareness of the perception, before anything came in, was, oh, look at you. Like a welcoming, like a friend, like a loving, oh, so cute. Look at you. Cute person, human in the world. It was amazing because I had probably spent all kinds of glimpses like that saying, I didn't want to see that. And then I knew something had changed and was different. Anyone can do this. Just answer those 4 questions. Who would I be without the story? And then find the turnarounds. All right. Let me know how it goes. Lots of love.